Imagine a city so influential that money flowed into it year after year, not because it was the richest capital on earth, but because millions believed it was holy. Now imagine an empire looking at that river of cash and thinking one thing: control it. So here's the question: how did the temple in Jerusalem fund itself? And why did that money become politically explosive?
Stay with me, because the twist is simple but powerful. In the ancient world, coins weren't just currency. They were identity. They were loyalty. And once you see that, the temple tax stops being just religion and starts looking like a system every empire would watch closely. In this documentary, we're going to break the temple tax down like a real system: where it came from, how it was collected, what it funded, and why Rome cared so much. And at the end, I'll leave you with one moral lesson, because this story isn't just ancient history, it's a warning. Quick question before we begin. If you were Rome, would you allow a religious institution to collect money across your empire? Or would you eventually try to control that flow, because money moving at scale is never only spiritual?
Let's start with the roots. In the Hebrew Bible, Exodus describes a half-shekel contribution connected to the sanctuary community. And later, after the exile, Nehemiah describes organized support for temple service and offerings. Even early on, you can see the pattern. Worship required structure, and structure required support. By the Second Temple period, centuries later, we're no longer talking about a small local offering. We're talking about a widely recognized annual contribution associated with the temple in Jerusalem. And by the 1st century, the Gospels assume their audience understands the concept. In Matthew, the temple tax appears as something real people were collecting.
So what is the temple tax in plain language? A recurring contribution linked to the temple, one of the central institutions of Jewish life in that era. But here's the detail people skip. When you build a recurring funding stream, you don't just build worship. You build a system. And every system attracts power.
Now let's talk mechanics, because this is where history meets finance. In many reconstructions of Second Temple practice, adult Jewish males are often described as primary expected contributors, though practices could vary across communities and time. And those payments were connected to pilgrimage life. Jerusalem didn't only receive people, Jerusalem received spending.
Here's the practical problem. Pilgrims came from different regions, carrying different currencies, different coins, different silver content, different trust. But the temple system needed reliable value. And that's why money changing becomes central to the story. Because without standardization, the whole system becomes unstable. Which leads to the part everyone remembers, but few people understand. Money changing. Exchange tables appear, sometimes for practical reasons, sometimes abused for profit, and often both at the same time. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The presence of money changers tells you worship and economics were intertwined. So let me ask you, if worship requires exchange tables, when does worship start feeling like a marketplace? Ancient coins weren't equal. Some coins were debased, some were mixed metal, some had inconsistent silver content. For temple operations, the core issue was reliability. If you're running a major institution, daily service, staff, maintenance, supplies, you need stable value. That's why historians often discuss high silver coinage in this context, with the Tyrion shekel commonly mentioned because of its silver content, though details in regional practice are debated. So the flow often looks like this. Pilgrims arrive with local money. They exchange into accepted silver. They pay the temple contribution, and the temple receives standardized value. That is a financial system. And once you see it that way, the next question is obvious. What did that system fund? Every tax raises the same question. Where does the money go? The temple wasn't just a building. It was a complex institution with constant costs. Supplies for offerings, maintenance, staff duties, storage, logistics, administration. So don't picture one basket of coins. Picture operations. Picture continuity, day after day. And here comes the next insight. A stable revenue stream doesn't only fund worship. It creates influence. It builds a network. It creates shared identity. It creates loyalty. And empires understand networks. Under Rome, national cohesion was not always seen as harmless, especially if it's centered on a sacred institution that drew money and devotion.
There's a historical clue that shows this money flow was visible in the Roman world. Cicero, in a speech known as Pro Flacco, describes the confiscation of gold that had been collected and was being sent to Jerusalem. Whatever you think of Cicero's motives, the point is clear. Funds connected to Jerusalem were noticed, and they could become politically sensitive.
Now we reach one of the most famous scenes in the New Testament, Jesus and the money tables. People often flatten this into extremes. Either Jesus hated money, or it was normal business, nothing wrong. But a careful reading suggests something sharper. The action functions like a prophetic confrontation, not against worship itself, but against what worship can become when money, access, and control merge into one place.
Because when people begin to feel that access to God is priced, controlled, or exploited, something spiritual is broken. So here's a question that should sting a little. Have you ever watched something sacred become a transaction? Where the system still looks religious, but the heart of it feels wrong?
After the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 AD, the temple system could no longer function as it once did. But empires don't ignore revenue streams. They redirect them. A well-known historical development after the war is the fiscus judaicus, a tax imposed under Rome, associated with redirecting money toward Roman purposes, including the Temple of Jupiter Capitolinus. In plain language, the temple was gone, but the extraction of value remained.
And that leads to the central insight of this episode. If you want to understand power, follow the money. Not because everything is a conspiracy, but because systems leave footprints. Money creates structure. Structure creates influence. And influence creates conflict.
So, what's the moral lesson here? First, organization isn't evil. A faith community can build systems to support worship, charity, and continuity. But second, money is never just money. It becomes access. It becomes power. It becomes identity. The temple tax story warns us that sacred institutions can become marketplaces without noticing. And when that happens, people start confusing holiness with wealth, access with price, and God with the institution.
So here's the personal question. Where has your faith become transactional? Where have you turned prayer into payment rather than relationship? Next episode, Rome's tax machine in Judea and why taxation and control helped fuel revolt. If you want this History Meets Faith and Finance series, the playlist is linked below. And tell me in the comments, was the temple tax mainly about worship, mainly about national identity, or both?